Is my posture good? Is this how I should sit?
Yeah, that's fine. Ready?
Who are you?
Who am I? My name is Derrick Oldensmith. I am a senior trader and registered principal at T3 Trading Group, where I've been for the last 12 years.
How long have you been a trader?
12 years. Well, how long have I been a trader? I've been a trader with T3 for about 12 years. I was a sales trader for a different company for a couple of years before that, and I've been involved in markets in one way or another since I was a kid. I think I bought my first stock when I was like 13 years old. So officially professional prop trader with T3 for 12 years.
Do you love it?
I love what I do. Every day is different, and that's what gets me excited. I'm not coming in looking at the same Excel spreadsheets all day, every day. I'm coming in and I'm studying the market. The market's dynamic. Every day is unique. My role is to figure out the next step of this constantly evolving puzzle that we call the marketplace.
What's the most important personality trait for a trader?
The most important personality trait for a trader is to be disciplined. Discipline first and foremost with your risk management and your money management, which, by the way, a lack of discipline with risk management and money management is the number one reason why traders fail in this business. And then also you have to be disciplined with the rules that you create for your trading. I say it all the time. The only way that you can be a consistently profitable trader is to be consistent in regards to your actions with the market. The only way that you can do that is by having rules in place that you are consistently following. And then that sounds probably pretty easy right now, but when you're in front of the screens and your P&L is moving, it can sometimes be very difficult. You have to have discipline with the rules that you create for your trading strategies.
What's the best trade you've ever made?
The best trade I've ever made? Not sure really off the top of my head. I've certainly had a few good ones over the years. One that just comes to mind right away, maybe my most profitable, I'm not 100% sure, was actually being long JNUG, J-N-U-G, post-COVID on the run back up. It was like a 3x leverage junior minor gold ETF, and I always think it's funny that that's one of the most profitable trades I've ever had, because for most of my career I've really disliked the gold miners as trading vehicles and even as investments, yet here I am involved in a 3x leverage junior gold miner ETF, and then it was a multi-week swing trade for me that maybe is my most profitable trade ever. I'm not 100% sure.
How do you define success as a trader?
How do you define success as a trader? I think that's a very individual question for each trader that's out there based on the goals that they make for themselves. So first, you have to have goals. I have goals for my trading. And then success is in achieving those goals and then in the creation of new goals that you are reaching towards. And those could be goals for profitability, for consistency, for building an account size. So I think that creating goals and achieving goals is how you define success as a trader.
How do you stay up to date with the ever-changing financial markets?
I read a lot. I read a lot of news and information, and what I try to avoid as much as possible, which is really hard in this day and age, is reading other people's opinion. What I want to read is less what your opinion is and more the cold hard facts of the news, and then take that information into my own brain to try to figure out what I think the next steps are for the market. And then of course you need to have the technicals confirm that. But this is not a 9-to-5 gig. There is a lot of work that needs to be done in order to be successful in this business.
What's the hardest mistake to avoid while trading?
The hardest mistake to avoid while trading is probably getting in your own head. It goes back to being a disciplined trader, having a disciplined approach. It always sounds very easy on paper in an interview, on a phone call, that you just have to do the right things consistently over time with your trading. But in practice, it's so easy for us to get in our own heads. You get shaken out of that one trade that then works, or you have a bad P&L day and then it potentially affects your next day worth of trading. You have to be able to be consistent. Don't get in your own head.
What do you hate most about learning to trade?
What do I hate most about learning to trade? Well, it's a tough question because I love learning, period. I love learning about markets, and the learning curve when you first start the business is massive. When you're a new trader, you learn so much in a short period of time, especially when you're working with a strong team like the team that I'm working with. As an experienced trader, I'm still learning new things, and that's actually what I love most. The hardest thing about learning, though, is probably the fact that you're going to take a lot of half step backs, right? A lot of this business is you take 2 steps forward in your trading, 2 steps forward in your learning process, just to then have the market environment change, or you take a P&L hit, or a new obstacle, gets in your way, and then you're taking 1 step back. But sometimes we have to take that 1 step back in order to learn more, to challenge ourselves further, to then be able to take those next 2 steps forward. So I love learning in general, but the hardest part about the process is that there is so much that you're absolutely going to hit stumbling blocks along the way.
Do you beat yourself up after a bad day?
Do I beat myself up after a bad day? To answer that question, we have to define what a bad day is in trading. I don't think that a good day or a bad day is necessarily P&L based. So obviously that has something to do with it, right? You have a big P&L day, or a really, up on the upside or on the downside. It's hard not to feel a degree of emotion about that. But the real thing to be asking yourself, whether you had that good day or you had that bad day, is did you do the right things today? Because if you did all the wrong things and made a lot of money, you should not be happy about that. As a matter of fact, if you are happy about that, you're setting yourself up for long-term failure. And the truth is that we work in a game of probabilities. Sometimes you will do all of the right things just to lose money. And you have to be able to take a step back and say, hey, I did all the right things. If I did this 100 times, I'm going to be making money in the long run. It just didn't work out today. So when I beat myself up, and I really do beat myself up sometimes, isn't just because I lost money today. It's because I made mistakes that caused me to lose money, or heck, even mistakes that sometimes caused me to make money. That's the real big problem. That's when I beat myself up. That's when I go, you've been trading way too long to make this mistake. How could you do this? How could you allow yourself to lose this money by making a mistake that you know is a mistake? And I think it's appropriate to beat yourself up in those situations. But it's not appropriate to beat yourself up because you lost some money today, but you did all the right things and you were disciplined and you followed your edge and you followed your risk management and money management rules.
As a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
As a kid, what did I want to be when I grew up? I wanted to be a trader. Actually, really true. Grew up in the 90s, basically. Born in the 80s, grew up in the 90s, got to see, as a kid, the whole, tech bubble kind of come into play, and that's all that everybody was speaking about back in the, especially the late 90s, and that really made an impression on me as a kid, and I was like, wow, I want to know more about the stock market. I want to know about, instead of doing dirty jobs to be able to make money for myself, I want to learn about how money can make money and how can I be involved in that as a process. So really this is kind of always what I wanted to do.
What would you do if you weren't a trader?
If I wasn't a trader, I probably would be a ski bum somewhere at this point, just chilling in a van in a parking lot waiting for the snow to come out so I can go hit the slopes again. Either that or I would be heavily involved in martial arts. I've been teaching martial arts for 20 years or whatever it is already, former world champion fighter. I love not just the competition of the sport, but I also love training and developing others. And that's part of where my love is, by the way, of trading and working with traders, is I just kind of love to teach in general. So I'm either, in another life, I'm either a ski bum somewhere or I'm in the martial arts dojo all day, every day.
Do you believe in luck?
Do I believe in luck? So this is something I talk about with my traders in regards to trading. I don't think that a successful career is defined by luck. I think if you look at a trader over the course of a year, his P&L is not luck. It's entirely based on the success and failure of the decisions that he made. I think that in individual instances, there is a luck factor, but it's a big mistake to allow yourself to dwell on that luck factor. It's a big mistake to allow yourself to say, like, oh, this this just happened because of bad luck, or I'm super unlucky. Why does this always happen to me? If it always happens to you, it's probably not luck. You probably need to go and dive into your approach and your strategies and figure out what you need to do differently.
What's your favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
Why?
I don't know. I'm super addicted. I don't really post a lot on social media, but I can't help, sending friends funny videos and just scrolling when I got free time.
Who's your biggest inspiration or role model?
My biggest inspiration or role model? At this point in my life, I really don't have an answer for you on that one. I'm sorry.
What's the craziest thing you did in your 20s?
Craziest thing I did in my 20s? Compliance is going to be reviewing this video. Craziest thing I did in my 20s, I fought professionally, right? I had 12-round professional world title fights where I would sign on the dotted line, where I was literally signing my life away before entering the ring, and I would do that to step in front of another person who was going to spend the next half hour trying to actually kill me. So that was a pretty risky, crazy thing I did when I was in my 20s through my early 30s. I'm now retired. I missed the competition, but the reason why I retired was because that sport is very dangerous, and I don't want to put myself in a position where I could have long-term brain damage or any of the things that can happen to people in that sport.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
If I could have one superpower, what would it be? It would probably be the ability to snap my fingers and respawn my P&L and start it over on a bad day.
What do you think the biggest change we're going to see in the markets before the end of the year is?
Biggest change we're going to see in the markets before the end of the year? I don't know if we're going to see a lot of change. We're in a market environment that is defined by historic levels of volatility, low liquidity, and I don't see that changing into the end of the year. I think we're going to stay really volatile. We might have another big bear market, run into the end of the year on the upside, big bear market rally. We might crater down to New Year lows. I mean, we're basically there right now as I'm kind of filming this video with you guys. It's going to be a pretty interesting end of the year. I think that the end of the year is going to be about balancing, building into this Fed pause that everyone is starting to look to, with balancing that with the potential damage to the economy and potential recession that it has basically created.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Chocolate or vanilla?
Cookies and cream.
What's your favorite or most useful trading technique?
My favorite and most useful trading technique? It's hard to answer that question because I incorporate so much into my trading, and I don't think that the approach or the system is complete without all of the other aspects of it. So if I say technical analysis, then I am foregoing the importance of market dynamics. Or if I say, it used to be tape reading, that's true. I still do implement tape reading into my trading. It's just not as important as it used to be, but it's all part of kind of a complete system for me. So it's hard to really kind of take any one thing, because that's what I preach, is you can start by learning some simpler kind of dummy trades, and maybe you can, if you're disciplined, you can make some good consistent P&L off of it. But in order to take your trading to the next level, you have to be able to digest all of this dynamic information that's going on in the market at any given point in time and put it together and then have it spit out in a way that breeds consistent profitability.
What's the funniest thing that ever happened to you as a trader?
Funniest thing as a trader? Oh boy, there was some funny events over the years. I would have to say number one was that time when I used to keep my dress shoes at the office and wear sneakers to the office. And one morning I put my dress shoes on and did my research. I had to walk into another room to do the morning meeting. I felt like I had a big rock in my shoe. And when I got into the other room to do the morning meeting, I took my shoe off, and there was a giant roach that fell out of it. And then we, on the trading floor, dared a guy to eat it. And he threw some hot sauce on and chomped away.
What's the worst advice you've gotten?
The worst advice I've gotten, like in all of life? The worst advice I've gotten... I don't have an answer to what the worst advice I've gotten is, because if somebody gives me bad advice, I just blow it right through. Like I'm not listening to that. I don't listen to people who tell me that you can't be successful or you can't do it or you shouldn't. I mean, how many times have people told me over the years when I was training to become a world champion that you're not physically strong enough to be able to do that. It's not that sport will never be right for you. And despite the naysayers, I was able to do it. And it's the same thing with trading. There's going to be so many naysayers along the journey to success in this business because trading is hard, and not everyone who pursues it is successful. And you can't listen to somebody else who maybe wasn't successful tell you that you won't be successful. You let people like that get in your head, you'll never be successful in anything that you do. So when people say things like that, if that's advice that you shouldn't be involved in something, for me, I've always looked past it. I've always let it brush off my shoulders and told myself that I can be successful at whatever I choose to do if I'm willing to put the time and the effort and the work into getting myself there. And that's that. And here I am talking to you guys today.
What's one piece of advice you would give to a young trader?
One piece of advice I would give to a young trader that I give all the time to young traders is focus on risk management first. When you're in the early stages of a trading career, it is very likely that you will lose money. And that's okay. Honestly, it's okay. As long as you're learning from it, it's part of a process. Obviously, we want you to make money right away. That's ideal, but it shouldn't necessarily be the expectation. So if you're going through this learning curve, and in that learning curve, because you don't know anything about anything, you might be losing money, that's fine. You just can't allow yourself to dig yourself too deep. And the way to do that is to have rules in place, again, for risk management and money management. Be disciplined with those rules, and that way, even if you lose some money in the beginning of your career while you're going through the learning curve, it's peanuts compared to what you're going to eventually make if you're successful. And I can tell you that even for myself. I remember as a new trader, the first time I lost $700 in a day. It felt like so much money to me. It was right off the open. It was within like 5 minutes. I lost $700. I like literally wanted to cry. I worked all these dirty jobs in high school and everything, minimum wage, trying to be able to make money for myself. And there I could just take a week's worth of dirty jobs and lose it in 5 minutes as a trader. If my P&L is down $700 at this point in my career, I still consider myself to be flat. I don't even notice it. So, yeah.
If you could tell the world one thing, what would it be?
If I could tell the world one thing, what would it be? I would love for everybody just to be able to come together and be able to talk again. I just feel like people have become so extreme in their viewpoints in this day and age that people don't want to sit down and engage in conversations and understand what somebody else's viewpoint is. We as a people need to all be able to come together, communicate, be understanding of each other's ideas and thought processes and where everyone's coming from, because without being able to have an understanding of one another, we're doomed for some bad things. So we've got to be able to come together and communicate.
Well, thanks for sitting down with us, Derrick.
No problem. You got it. Thank you.